Hello, coming back for part 2 of this word. So when it comes down to it, you have to come to the realization that a person will bleed all over a person because they're selfish to their own problems. So they will project upon you and then try to tell you're the selfish person. Because they always have to put themselves first. But when you acknowledge that, it then makes them project that on you. If something comes up and it means to serve their need more than it will for them choosing to serve your need, you're going to be left hanging. Now, one would say, what does that have to do with the fact that this guy allowed the medic to go help somebody else to save? Wouldn't that be considered selfless? Not if we're looking at it as their bleed out. They tend to leave a person hanging that's trying to be a benefit. Now, I've seen this happen. I know people that do this. They will drive off and leave somebody without a care in the world. Leave them in the midst of whatever it is that they're dealing with. Leave them hanging. They may be bleeding, but they're going to leave you hanging. They may be dying. They're going to leave you hanging. Now, one would say, then wouldn't he have kept the medic for himself and let the other person die? Not if the medic was going to actually patch up their wounds. Remember, God's the great physician, right? If the physician actually patches up their wounds, they would have to what? Acknowledge this issue. So they'd rather run. Oh, this doesn't serve me because that means that I'm going to have to let go of something. And that's not something that I'm going to deal with. So I'm going to bounce out this situation. Forget it. I ain't going to do this. Forget it. Don't have... They would rather pronounce death over themselves than to deal with that problem. It would serve me better to allow death to consume me than to allow you to actually fix the problem. But a self-aware person, that's the person that's going to say, I understand my situation. Yes, I'm going to let it go. Let them go help that other person. But I'm going to go through the process. Now, they are in a dire situation. The person's in a dire situation. They're dying. They're bleeding out. They're doing all of this. Let's think of the mindset of this person has to be in. They're panicking. The first thing when the guy figured out that he can no longer feel his feet or legs. Come on. Some of y'all been here. 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 You done did everything that you could do for this situation, but you got no more bettered for it. And this is how you have been. This is how you have been. I'm actually going to jump into the scripture in a second. You've been here. So when you see anything that looks like this again, man, you start to panic. Oh no. Oh no, I can't feel my legs again. I can't. When I did this before, it didn't fix this problem. I still can't feel my legs though. My legs, I'm starting to feel the paralyzation going up my spine. The more I try to do, the more I try to fight it. You're like a person in quicksand. You're panicking. What is it that they tell a person, whether they are swimming or whether they're in quicksand? The more you fight it, the more it's going to pull you under. I was listening to a video and they were talking about the scripture of the prick. When the guy was on the road to Damascus, God came to the man and said, "Why are you doing this to my servant?" There is another version that talks about the prick, though. When an animal is pricked with the prick that a farmer uses to yield direct, whatever that animal, he presses a prick into it and pain is caused. Some people go through levels of pain that at the memory of that pain, they panic and refuse to get any help. No, this looks the same. I'm not gonna sit through this. I'm not gonna walk this. I know I am paralyzed. Stop trying to tell me it's going to be any better. They've accepted their diagnosis. The likelihood of them getting any better from paralyzation, I'm not gonna deal with it. Already paralyzed from the neck down, why even bother? Which brings me to my scripture. Okay, found the scripture. It's Matthew 9, starting at 20. And behold, a woman who had suffered from a hemorrhage for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringes of his garment. For she said to herself, "If I can only touch his garment, I shall be made whole." Or made well in some versions. Jesus turned to see her and said, "Take heart, daughter. Your faith has made you well." And instantly the woman was made well. And when Jesus came to the ruler's house and saw the flute players, okay, that I don't need to go any further than that. I'm I'm just referencing the fact that so many people have always said that at that particular point that, now maybe it's another passage that talks about this, but in this passage, most people reference it and said that Jesus turned and said, "Who touched me?" But in this version, it literally shows that he saw who it was that touched him and gave her a blessing. She's been made well. And I mean, I see so many people say that. Be careful who you listen to. So, with that being said, we know the story that this woman had an issue of blood. She had this issue for a series of years. That in the context of her story, it states that she had that issue for 12 years. Now, this may be a commentary part, theology of it, that she had that issue for 12 years. There are people that you know in your life. You could point to about 15 of them right now. They be bleeding all over folks. They issues, they problems. They call and talk to people. Number one person that is operating in the spirit of gossip is the person that wants to bleed all over everybody. Ooh, did that hurt somebody? Bleeding all over a person. I used to have an aunt that was this way. She would call you and she got to tell you the entire life story for the next 3 hours. If you're willing to sit there and listen to her. Every time she called you, she had to tell you the story for the next 3 hours. She don't ever tell you nothing different but that story. You ain't gonna be able to fit it in a word in edgewise past that story. Until she finished talking for that 3 hours. Then you might be able to talk. And don't let her call you 2 days in a row. You got to hear it again. Or 3. That's the point where you have to make a decision. I'm going to come back to that. It's a decision that needs to be made right there. About whether you're going to let that person bleed on you or not. So, with that being said, some people will go through cycles. Cycle after cycle after cycle of bleeding on other people. They'll get to a point. You ever heard this story? I hear pastors tell this story frequently. It's the story of a person who they are in an issue. And they kind of talking about other Christians like this. Here is a situation where it's a flood. The house is flooding. Now, the ground is wet. And they drive up and say, "You need help?" "No, I'm going to wait. God going to fix this problem." The water's gotten up to the 2nd floor. Now they have to swim. Person comes by in a boat. You need help?" "No, God's going to help me." The water goes up to the top of the house. They're sitting on the roof. A helicopter comes by. "You need help?" "No, I'm good. God got me. He gonna deal with it." Some people go through cycles because they're looking for help from the wrong people in the wrong places. The woman with the issue of blood was seeking. out. Help. Bleeding all over people. I can't fix this problem. I'm bleeding. Going through treatments. Doing things that are more painful. Hold up. Let me stop right there. Ever know a person that is literally doing more damage to themselves than good, but refuse to go to the person that's seeking help, to give them help? They're doing more damage. You're like, maybe you should go to rehab for that. No, I'm good. I don't even know. Remember that you know your parents' generation. Come on, raise your hand. We don't got none of those people getting those hair. What you talking about? We keep these family issues in the house. I don't need no help. Help with what? How and in what way? Literally falling over themselves in their own stupors. Bleeding all over everybody. You don't need help? People with drug problems had several near-death experiences. They ain't dead yet. I literally watched a program the other day. It was a news reel. They were talking about, how they now have made it legal for this Narcan thing. It's an anti-overdose medication, right? So they try to teach people how to do these Narcan treatments, right? They got people taking classes and all this type of stuff. Hell, the person is doing that may overdose. You know that there is a woman they interviewed, and the woman said, "Oh, I got off on that. I knew I could get the treatment. I would literally have and make sure that whenever I was doing what I was doing, that I had somebody that had that, so that whenever." That's what the woman was literally saying in the news report. They knew that they could keep doing it and not suffer no consequence as long as they had somebody that was there to back them up. Oh, well, in the case that something happened, I got somebody. They got something to know it. I'm not going to die. Operating in a level of analysis paralysis. Operating in a level of paralysis of the mind because they're under the influence of some type of drug. High on weed, on cocaine, on heroin, on opioids, on something, on antidepressants. Oh, we can't talk about that one. Can't talk about that. On something. All other drugs are bad except these. You can do weed, you can do antidepressants. Just don't do cocaine, opioids, or any of these types of things. That's bad. This is good. A drug is a drug. But some might sit up there and say, well, if you call a drug, then what is it about a person that takes Tylenol and Advil and all that type of stuff and then just increases, ends up on oxycodone and all that kind of things? Can a Tylenol be a gateway? There's a huge argument there that I could just dig into that rabbit hole, but you know what? I ain't got time for this message. Of avoidance. We ain't gonna deal with it. A lot of things are spiritual. But that's the fight. I'm gonna leave this at this point where I say a lot of people are using medications to deal with spiritual issues. They don't want to do the spiritual deliverance to handle the physical issue. So, with that being said, if you're not willing to deal with it, let's go back to that story of the man who is flooded. I'm waiting on God. But I prayed. But I'm standing. But you don't see no change. I've been through this cycle over and over again. I ain't seeing no change. God, it should have changed by now. Okay, let me pinpoint some of y'all that's standing for kingdom marriage. Oh, don't touch that. That's our... A kingdom marriage takes two individuals. If one person is not willing to change, or they're not willing to complete their process but keep being reverted back to the beginning of their process, they are not dealing with, they are running, they are preventing themselves. There are certain reactions and things that they aren't paying attention to. They're still operating as a casual Christian and still operating in worldly behaviors. Of course, it's going to take a whole lot longer for them to get to the end of the process. And the other person's going to be waiting if they are literally doing the work. There's a statement that I always give. You're in a 3-legged race. Okay? It's you, your God ordained spouse, and God is what's tying the two of you together. He's that third leg. Yes? And because God's that third leg, He's holding the two of you together. If you have spiritually come into contact with your spouse, if you have had an encounter with the spouse the Lord has given you constant confirmation is that person, but God said, I got to work on them. Some people have had to stand for that relationship, and I've said this before. 1, 3, 5, 9, 10 years or longer. Because see, God tied the two of you together spiritually. So if you're running for the goal, but your spouse isn't, you find that you're falling flat on your face trying to figure out why. Because they're still stalled somewhere and you can't move any farther forward because you're still tied to them. What? It only sounds good when the two of you are tied together and it's working and you're together. Megan Michelle says this all the time. I thought we were going to heal, but I thought we were going to heal together. God got us both healing, but we're separated. Some of you are in spiritual connection with your God ordained spouse, and you wonder why things are stalling out on your side because stuff is stalled out on his. You get a level of momentum, things are moving, Things are moving for them when things are moving too. But let's say they get stalled out. And then you wonder why you stalled out. God's got the two of you connected, so you're going to be falling forward because they done stop moving. But then when they catch momentum, then you start to move with them. But if you're not moving at the pace they're moving, you're getting dragged. But I'm not with them yet. How are they affecting my life and I ain't with them yet? Because you're spiritually connected. And if they take their good old time getting to you, well, I ain't with them. They can't see me. Because some of the God ordained spouses were like that. They can't see me. They don't know. They don't know what I'm doing. If you got a praying wife and the woman is actually praying, God gives you a window into the spirit realm to see. You may not have all the details, but you know enough to pray. God may not reveal everything because he doesn't want you praying from the wrong heart posture. But he gonna give you what's necessary to pray that person through that season. And eventually y'all gonna get there together. And that middle wall partition gonna be removed. So now you all are running together at the same pace because you are working together. But some of y'all are sitting up there wanting to curse God because it's taking too long. It's taking too long. Why is it taking too long? Then you end up in a level of projection. I'm over here paralyzed. Why can't I go? Because I'm standing. You got to stand. And God says stand. We're in a spiritual fight. Did you not notice? We're in a spiritual fight. Sometimes God allows the paralysis because he needs you to stand still. I can't move forward. Why isn't anything moving in my life? I'm standing to see the promises of God and ain't nothing happening. Because God's saying I need to wait until you come to me. And I'm going to keep you paralyzed right there until you ask the right question. What was the question that she asked? She said, what? If I could only touch the hem of his garment, I will be made well. Some of you are not willing. Some people are not willing to understand. I'm going to bless everybody. But the blessing is not going to touch me. Come on, let me help you. I'm going to send a medic to help everybody else. I'm going to pray for everybody else. I'm going to do for everybody else. But a person that got a level of self-awareness is going to say, I know I'm bleeding. Let me see if I can patch myself up first. Let me let that medic deal with me first. Let me let the physician do the work on me. And then everybody else won't start projecting. You selfish. You this. You self-centered. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Wait, because I want to work on myself. I want to figure out my own problems. I want to figure out what's wrong with me. I want to do it in a sober-minded place. I don't want to have to take no medication for myself. I want to actually sit with myself and deal with myself. Oh, now I'm self-centered because I want to become self-aware. People that are selfish and self-centered will never allow you to become self-aware. That's the one thing they don't never want you to do. Don't become self-aware. Take care of yourself. What you mean you taking care of yourself? Oh, I got a word for you next. Oh, honey, I got you. For my kingdom marriage folks. I got you in a minute. But I thought you was supposed to be the nice one. We were supposed to talk about kingdom marriage and we were supposed to be all nice and... Let me help you deal with yourself. Okay? I'm gonna help you deal with yourself, okay? I hope this helps you deal with yourself, okay? I know you're gonna be a little hurt. I know you'll be a little hurt, but I hope that it helps you. So, I'm gonna take care of myself. But you're selfish because you want to take care of yourself. What you mean you want to become self-aware? What you mean? When they got the man to the hospital, they ended up taking him into surgery and he ended up being fully paralyzed from the neck down. He told his partner to turn off his oxygen and kill him. You see, when you ain't self-aware, you would rather choose the easy way out. What you mean I gotta go through a process? Just take me out of here. I may be paralyzed from the neck down. I may not be able to move forward in life, but I'm going to sit here and be comfortable in this place. A man laying at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years? Huh? Who's to say the woman that had the issue of blood couldn't have had the issue of blood for another 26 years? Just like the man at the pool of Bethesda? She had to make a decision. Some people have to make a decision to stretch themselves just a little bit further. But most people will get to this place. Wait, you telling me that I'm paralyzed from the neck down? Oh, take me out of here. What is it that his partner told him? There is rehabilitation. You could get the help. They may be